This is Renee Collins-Cobb and Adam Banks, and welcome to Overtones Live.
Feeling my way through the darkness, guided by a beating heart. I don't know where this journey will end, but I know where to start. They tell me I'm too young to understand. They say I'm caught up in a dream. Well, life will pass me by if I don't open up my eyes. That's fine by me. So wake me up when it's over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself, and I didn't know I was lost. So wake me up when it's over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself, and I didn't know I was lost.
We are celebrating The Voice on Overtones Live, and by that, we're not referring to the Voice TV show, but we are celebrating the voice as an instrument today and what it contributes to the art and the institution of what we call choral music. We have Dr. Jeff Johnson and Nick Johnson in the studio. No relation, by the way. That's always been a really curious thing for me as well. And I've been wanting to do this show for a long time now. So I'm so happy to have both of you in the Media Lex studio today so we can talk about and celebrate the great and honor the great work of Nick Johnson.
Well, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, just to give you some background, and you can correct me if I get any of this incorrect, Nick. The University of Kentucky AcoustikCats, that is comprised of some of the best male vocalists, not only from UK, but probably from around the world, right?
I would hope so.
And we have had this a cappella group on Overtones Live several times. And when we do, we literally cram about 16 individuals into a very small studio here at Media Lex. And they bring us their favorite performance songs from their semester performances of that year. And when they have, I have become overly infatuated and intrigued by the choral arrangements that were scored for these young men to perform. And through their interviews with us, I learned that most of these arrangements were scored by a young man named Nick Johnson. And this show has become necessary today as a result of a lunchtime conversation I had with Nick over the holidays, which left me totally mesmerized and engaged, like for 2 hours. And it was after that time, I think I told you, I wished I had recorded the entire conversation we had. So while we can't replicate that conversation word for word, I'm so excited to take a deep dive into Nick's body of work today on this special edition of Overtones.
Well, I'm excited. That was so nice.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm very excited.
Nick, before we take that deep dive with you, we're so fortunate to have one of your mentors and former University of Kentucky professors, Dr. Jeff Johnson, in the studio. Thank you, Dr. Johnson, for coming into the studio today to celebrate Nick Johnson.
Thanks, Renee. I'm honored to be here to celebrate my son from another mother.
Well, I just mentioned at the intro, a lot of people are very curious. That was the first thing that I wanted to know, is if you all were related.
Yes, but not by genetics or blood.
Yeah, by choice.
We are related by choice, and by the things that we love are there's a real common set there.
Oh, I love that so much. And again, I'm just so honored that both of you all are here. I've had the AcoustikCats in the studio, mainly pre-pandemic, but we're going to work on that this semester before you all get out of school, because
Nice.
I would love to have you all back in. They're some of our favorite shows.
First pitch is 1, 2, 3.
Doom, 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 oh, doom, 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 oh, doom, 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 oh, doom, 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 oh, doom, 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 oh, doom, doom,
Nothing left to see. If it hurts, I can't no more. Lay it on my knees. don't have to keep it under lock and key. I won't ever let you down. And if you can't escape all your uncertainties, baby, I can show you how. Let my love in, let my love in, let my love be. Let my love in, let my love in. If you'll let my love, let my love be. If you're scared while you're out on your own, just remember me. 'Cause I won't let you go that alone. Lay it on me. No, you don't have to keep it under lock and key. I won't ever let you down. And if you can't escape all your uncertainties, baby, I can show you how. Let my love in, let my love in, let my love be. Let my love hurt if you're hurting, let my love be. So if you're hurting, then just let your heart be free. You got a friend in me. I'll be your shoulder at any time you need. Baby, I believe you can lay it all on me. Let my love in, let my love in, lay it on me. Let my love hurting if you're hurting, let my love be. 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 Lay it all on me. Lay it all on me. Oh, lay it all on me. Lay it all on me.
Yeah, boy.
And the amazing film that we get from having is it 16 of them? Am I
right
correct?
now, 17 actually.
17?
Right now. Yeah.
Okay, so we had 16 or 17. And I don't know if you recall, when we used to do this at the Lyric, we got all of them in the shower.
I actually remember that picture. I got a picture of it sent to me.
We do these things called shower shots where everybody comes clean at the Lyric. And
that's fun.
we see how many of them we could put in there. We got every one of them in there.
Nice.
That does not surprise me.
So much fun. So much fun. So, Dr. Johnson, first, you have a major career milestone coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
And let's first ask you to tell us a little bit about your career at the University of Kentucky College of Fine Arts and also as director of the much beloved Lexington Singers.
Well, thanks, Renee. So this is my 33rd year at the University of Kentucky as Director of Choral Activities, and it's my last year. I'm retiring effective the end of the semester, which will be June 30th. It's real bittersweet for me because I love my job, but we are new grandparents, and we have some other thanks, and we have some other things going on in our lives that this is a good time for us, I think, to good time for me to step out. And I've always wanted to leave the program on top, in a really, really great trajectory, and that's where it is right now. So I feel good about that transition.
Wow. So how many years has this been? I'm sorry if you
So
said.
33 years
33
at the
years.
University of Kentucky, yeah. And I'm in my 28th year, and you mentioned the Lexington Singers, 28 years with the Lexington Singers, and I am staying with that group for the foreseeable future. So I'll be around, and we'll still be making music.
Well, that is the greatest news. Let me just start off by asking you, Dr. Johnson, from your recollection, will you tell us about how you first came to meet and know Nick Johnson?
Nick Johnson and I go all the way back to when he was a high school student at Franklin County High School. Okay, and now you tell me if I get any details wrong.
I hope I remember.
All right, because this is all I remember. That's it. No, I remember recruiting him. He was a high school senior, and his choral director, Ray Hurley, was my student at UK. So that makes him, in terms of choral genealogy, that makes him my choral grandchild. Mm-hmm. Now, he had students when he taught at Tates Creek High School later. I'm fast-forwarding a few years. He had students who graduated who came to the University of Kentucky and sang in the UK choirs who became my choral great-grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Yeah, when I made that point, you didn't love it.
That's right. I didn't know there was such a thing, or could be such a thing.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
that's how you first came to know him.
Came to know him. I recruited him as a high school senior. We were lucky to get him to come to UK. We got him in the music ed program, and then he was fabulous as an undergraduate, and we had just some amazing experiences. Not the least of which were the AcoUstiKats going to the Sing Off on NBC in 2013, which we can talk about in a minute if you'd like. But after he graduated, as I said, he became choral director at Tates Creek High School, and then sent us a lot of really fine students. Some of our really, really best students that I've taught over the years have come from that school under Nick. So, and then he's gone on with his life in other directions, but he's always kept music as a part of it, a special part of his life, because I think that's a part of really who he is. And so that's kept us connected in some really fun ways.
I have climbed highest mountain, I have run through the fields, only to be with you, only to be with you. I have run, I have crawled, I have scaled these city walls, these city walls, only to be with you. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I have kissed honey lips, felt the healing in her fingertips, and burned like fire, this burning desire. I have spoke with the tongue of angels, I have held the hand of the devil, it's warm in the night, I was cold as a stone, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I believe in the kingdom come, when all the colors will bleed into one, bleed into one. And yes, I'm still running. You broke the bonds and you loosed the chains, carry the cross of my shame. You know I believe it, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, I want to ask you a follow-up question to that. And the question is, how do you explain his talent for choral and a cappella arrangements, and how has that talent shaped the UK AcoUstiKats over the trajectory of the UK School of Music story, and also for your career as well?
You know, Nick, I think, now he, of course, could speak to this better than I can, but from my perspective, he sort of learned how to arrange by singing. he's been a singer, all his life, and he's sung in some great choirs, and he's sung a lot of quality choral music during that time. And then when he was an AcoUstiKat as a freshman, he sang some really, really good arrangements by other people. And I don't remember the first time you said to me, Dr. J, I think I've got an arrangement I want you to look at. But it was probably maybe your sophomore year, I'm guessing?
It was the spring semester of freshman year.
Oh, okay.
It was Isn't She Lovely?
Ah, nice. And so, and I looked at it and I thought, whoa, this is pretty darn good for a guy his age. And so, but it just went on from there. We said, yeah, let's give this a shot. And so, from sort of humble beginnings, he just expanded and expanded and expanded his ability and his versatility as an arranger. And of course, he had the AcoUstiKats. As a member of the AcoUstiKats, he sort of had a kind of a test group right there. You try them out, and that didn't work. Let me change this note, or let me change this range of this voice part, or let me move the solo to a different voice or something like that. So I think it's kind of like on-the-job training, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would. I mean, that's actually something I say to people now, is that I miss having a test ensemble in a way, because I also used my a cappella group from high school, my high school a cappella group, as a test group. They became very familiar with watching me write in real time.
Right.
And at some moments I would have rehearsals with them where I would show them my thought process and as to why I was making the decisions I was.
Nice.
But that was a huge, huge benefit of coaching. Was I did have test ensembles to write things for, and it gave me material for others to hear and ask me for their own original arrangement of mine.
And I'll add to that, the experience of the sing-off, when the AcoUstiKats in the fall, actually late summer of 2013, were sequestered in a hotel in Los Angeles, along with all the other contestant groups, and there were some of the, very top names of contemporary a cappella music were in charge of that show. Deke Sharon was sort of the musical director, producer of the show. And then Rob Dietz was always there doing arranging. And he is, if anybody listening has ever sung in an a cappella group, there's a good chance that they've done either an arrangement by Rob Dietz or something that he has in some way influenced, maybe someone he's taught or has vetted that arrangement. And I think maybe that helped you sort of go to that next level, being around those guys?
It helped me refine my pieces, because we only had a minute and a half for each arrangement. And so it really taught me what is necessary and what is kind of fluff that I don't really need when trying to keep people's attention and get excitement about a piece, elevated.
Yeah. I mean, and being around those guys literally 24/7. Everybody's in the same hotel. You can't leave the hotel because everyone signed non-disclosure.
We had to have a wrangler take us places.
That's right.
That's what they called them.
But those Rob would come in, and I guess Deke maybe also would come into your rehearsals as you were like feverishly preparing for every taping session, and would tweak the stuff, right?
Yes, they would, and sometimes they didn't need a lot of changes, and other times there were major changes that they would request. Yeah. The thing that I got very good at was writing quickly, because they would assign you the piece after you make it through to the next round. So it may be 2 a.m. when you find out, hey, I'm making it to round 2, and the producers will come up to you and say, great, at 8 a.m. we need a draft of your song for next week, which is Hey Ya. And I would weep. But you learn to make it up kind of as you go and realize, and I've never really been one. That was really the first time I had to get used to teaching by ear, teaching by rote, and writing by rote, because I didn't always have the time to sit down and notate the whole arrangement. Right. Sometimes I just did segments, and then other times I did have more time to do that, but yeah, it was challenging, but I learned a lot.
1, 2, 3.
Now this is the story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down. I'd like to take a minute, sit right there. I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel Air. In West Philadelphia, born and raised on a playground is where I spend most of my days. Chilling out, max and relaxing, all cool, just chilling some b-ball outside of school. When a couple of guys who were up to no good started making trouble in my neighborhood. I got in one little fight and my mom got scared and said, "You're moving with your auntie and uncle in there." I whistled for a cab and when he came near, the license plate said fresh and that dice in the mirror. If anything, I'd say this cab was rare, but I thought, nah, forget it, your home's to Bel Air. Fresh Prince of Bel Air, Fresh Prince of I walked up to the house around 7 or 8, and I yelled to the cab, "Your home's failing up." Looked at my kingdom, I was finally there to sit on my throne as the Prince of Bel Air. To sit on my throne as the Prince of Bel Air. To sit on my throne as the Prince of Bel Air.
That was such an amazing time, and I was here in Lexington, and you guys were in LA, but I made 3 trips out to visit and sort of help in any way I could, which was, the producers of the show weren't all that keen on me helping because their rationale was, well, the other groups don't have outside coaches that can help them, and we're trying to keep it on a level playing field, the competition.
Right.
So, but that was a little, it was the kind of anxious moments for me, but I was really proud of Nick and all the AcoustikCats that year, and it still is like, a peak experience, I think, for me in my career.
Yeah, I would agree.
So, Nick, how did that process come about? We were going to talk about the sing-off, so let's go ahead and do that right now, because I've been revisiting some old YouTube films this week. Nice. And I just remember I lived in Ohio at the time, and of course, I was one of these lone UK people that are living in Buckeye country, but I love the premise of the show anyway, and I do believe it was a summer replacement series for NBC. Is that correct?
Well, they filmed it in the summer, but they showed it in the fall.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
December.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And Nick Lachey was the host.
Yes.
Tell us who the judges were for that season.
Judges were Ben Folds, Jewel, and Sean Stockman.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so did someone turn in an audition film, or how did all that come about? Because I've seen the Wake Me Up video, and I understand from talking to you was that possibly the audition video?
That was not. It was our announcement video
that
we had
video. Okay.
made it.
Okay.
Feeling my way through the darkness, guided by a beating heart. I don't know where this journey will end, but I know where to start. They tell me I'm too young to understand. They say I'm caught up in a dream. Well, life will pass me by if I don't open up my eyes. That's fine by me. So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself, and I didn't know I was lost. So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself, and I didn't know I was lost. Whoa.
I tried carrying the weight of the world, but I only have 2 hands. I hope I get the chance to travel the world, but I don't have any plans. So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself, and I didn't know I was lost. So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time
honestly do not remember who told us we should audition. Maybe we saw it online, but there were open auditions for the newly revived The Sing-Off. They had canceled it a couple years earlier, and they brought it back for season 4. But we did film an audition, had to send it in, and then they basically said, yes, we want you to come in for an in-person audition. And so all of us on Derby Day went down. I can't even remember where it was. Was it Nashville?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we drove down to Nashville, and we did our set of 3 songs that we had spent hours and hours and hours on. And then they interviewed us as a group, and I still sometimes wonder if the reason that they brought us on was because of our group dynamic in the interview, specifically the hilarious nature of Patrick Banks, who was one of my friends from high school. He was a hoot in that interview. I think they just fell in love with him for some other reason behind that. I don't know. It's just... I sometimes attribute our success to getting accepted to the silliness of Patrick Banks in that moment. But yet, so then we were called. What's funny is we got the call that we were selected for the sing-off while we were in Italy with Chorale.
Yep.
And so we were in Italy in May of 2013,
Yep.
and then learned that we had made it, but we were not allowed to tell anyone. So we were on a trip with some AcoUstiKats and then a lot of non-AcoUstiKats that we could not tell, and we were so excited. And we then later in the summer, I can't remember when it started, but we were there for 7 weeks in Los Angeles.
Late July and August, up into the first week of school.
So it was up into, like, you didn't miss school during
they
this
did.
time?
We did.
Oh,
we
yeah.
missed the first full week of school.
How could you not miss school?
Well, tell them where you were, Nick, the first full
So
week.
we brought it upon ourselves a little bit, but we still would have missed the first full week of school if we hadn't have done this. But every single week, when you would make it to the next round, before the show, the producers would come up and they'd say, if you lose tonight, where are we flying you tomorrow? And they didn't care if they were sending you home or if they were sending you somewhere else, as long as the ticket they bought was not more expensive than the ticket they purchased to get you there. So one of our group members, Ross Hill, he said...
An enterprising lad.
Mm-hmm, he said, well, where can we go? And they said, I don't care. He said, can I go to Honolulu? And they said, are you serious? And then all of us kind of heard him, and we said, yes, send us all to Honolulu. It was cheaper for them to fly us to Honolulu than it was to send us to Lexington. So we all had been making money all summer that we weren't able to spend because we were sequestered to a hotel. And we decided we're going to go. We paid for a hostel. We all stayed in an 8-person room, and then 4 of us stayed in another room. But we spent a whole week in Hawaii. That was paid. The travel was paid for by them. And then we were going to end up, the reason we chose to do that was because 1 week after we got sent home, they were bringing everyone back to film the finale. Mm-hmm. So we knew that they were also going to bring us back from Honolulu to LA, and so we did it. I called my parents when we got to Hawaii, and I said, well, I'm in Hawaii, and they said, what? I think we did that to Dr. J too.
Yeah.
But, and he was not happy.
No,
because he also then had to continue telling people we were at acapella boot camp.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, we all came back and filmed that Christmas episode. Tan. Oh man, we were tan at that Christmas episode. But then we had that final week where we were filming, and that was what happened during that first week of school.
What great stories.
Yep.
Seven lonely days and a dozen towns ago, I reached out one night and you were gone. Don't know why you'd run, what you are running to or from. All I know is I want to take you home. So I'm walking in the rain, thumbing for a ride on this lonely Kentucky back road. much too long, and my love's too strong to let you go, never knowing what went wrong. Kentucky rain keeps pouring down, and up ahead's another town that I'll go walking through, with the rain in my shoes, searching for you in the cold Kentucky rain, in the cold Kentucky showed your photograph to some old gray-bearded men sitting on a bench outside a general store. They said, yes, she's been here, but their memory wasn't clear. Was it yesterday? No, wait, the day before. Finally got a ride from a preacher man who asked, were you bound on such a dark afternoon? As we drove on through the rain, as he listened, I explained, and he left me with a prayer that I'd find you. Kentucky rain keeps pouring down, and up ahead's another town that I'll go walking through, with the rain in my shoes. I'm searching for you. In the cold Kentucky rain, in the cold Kentucky rain, in the cold Kentucky rain, in the cold Kentucky.
We were going to do something kind of fun here, and I wanted to ask for each of Dr. Johnson and Nick Johnson's top 10 favorite arrangements. So I think I want to start with you, Dr. Johnson, and let's see what you have, and then I'm going to be looking at Nick's here as well.
All right, so I have to make a distinction right off the bat between choral arrangements for choirs, like University of Kentucky choirs or high school choirs, and contemporary a cappella arrangements, like for the AcoUstiKats. So my favorite arrangements of Nick, and at some point, he started out as an a cappella arranger, and at some point he morphed or added to his repertoire traditional choral music.
Yeah, I started that over COVID because I had the time, and I just kind of took a dive into it. But,
so 7 years after you started being an arranger, or maybe 8.
Almost. Really, the first time, the thing that really taught me how to arrange was I wrote drumline cadences for my drumline in high school.
Oh.
But then my first a cappella arrangement was my senior year of high school, and then for cats, it was spring freshman year.
Wow.
But I didn't do a ton of them up until that point.
So when he started being a choral arranger, again, he had groups at UK that, and he had me as a big fan, and he could say, Dr. J, I've got a new arrangement I'm working on. Do you think the men's chorus could read it, could sing it in a rehearsal and see if you like it? Or here it is, and, it's something we could even possibly get on a concert. And the answer was almost always yes, 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 and yes. Mm-hmm. So we were able to sing a lot of his arrangements and performances. And not only that, Renee, we took some of his arrangements, and I'm about to get to my list in a second, but some of his arrangements, at least two that I can think of right off the top of my head, we performed with the UK Men's Chorus at conventions of the American Choral Directors Association, where, to get a spot as a composer or an arranger, to get a spot on that program, you're competing with Johann Sebastian Bach, George Friedrich Handel, Wolfgang Mozart, Beethoven, Brahms, etc., all the greatest composers that are open to, a choral conductor like me. If I'm going to conduct the men's chorus at an ACDA conference, those are my choices. But Nick's music was so good, and I thought, yeah, this is really creative stuff. It's original, it's wonderful, and he's part of the UK family. So we ended up doing a piece called Hard Times. That's my number one. Mm-hmm. I know you guessed it. You guessed my number one. Hard Times, Come Again No More. It's the Stephen Foster folk song. His arrangement was so cool, so creative, so expressive, and so moving that we did that at an ACDA conference. Yes, we did it at the national conference, and with a honor choir of high school boys chosen from all over the country, and also from college students chosen from all over the country. And I was asked to conduct it, huge honor for me. And we put Nick's Hard Times on the program, which still is the piece that I still hear about. I just got back from an ACDA conference last week. Still somebody brought up to me, oh yeah, Hard Times. I was in that choir when we sang Hard Times.
Really?
He's a choral director. Yeah, he's been
cool.
He's been directing for a million years now. Okay, so that's my favorite one of Nick Johnson arrangement. The second one we also did at an ACDA conference. And I asked him specifically, I said, we need something fun, up-tempo, unusual, maybe from a different culture. I can't remember all the
Yeah. I can't remember either. I just remember saying, I have the perfect one in mind.
And he did, and it was called Rocky Road to Dublin.
That is not on my top 10, but it's because I mostly put AcoUstiKat stuff on there, but... Yeah. I should have known.
That's okay.
I was actually listening to that song this morning, the version that I based it off of.
Very cool. Yeah. Celtic flavor, super cool piece. So anyway, so that's my second one. Then there's a piece that this is another choral piece that he wrote for me. I was very, very honored and touched that he did. It's a beautiful text, and it's called You Know Not What You Do.
Yep.
And I love that piece, and we did that with the men's chorus as well. And then there is another piece, Nick, one more choral piece, and then I'll get to the a cappella music, that featured, and I cannot remember the title of this piece, but I wrote down harmonic minor scale.
That one was It Is Lovely Indeed, with Rumi text.
Yes, Rumi, with the text from Rumi, and It Is Lovely Indeed. It's had a sort of an Eastern feel, harmonically.
Yeah, the Byzantine scale.
Yeah, the Byzantine scale. And it was so cool. I love that piece. And so anyway, those are my top 4 choral arrangements that I love so much. Now, Beautiful Life.
Yep, that was a good one.
My top, when I'm moving to a cappella now, contemporary a cappella. And then a piece that I used to call it trio or...
Ballad?
Yes, ballad.
Yeah.
Why did I call it trio?
Because
it's 3 pieces.
Well, it's 3 pieces combined into one, yes. And we called it the ballad because all of the titles of the songs were all long. Or it was like Skinny Love, Leave Your Lover, and Unconditionally. So saying all 3 together was ridiculous. Unless you said, like, unconditionally leave your lover, skinny lover. I don't know, like, unconditionally leave your skinny lover. Yes, that would have been a weird title. So we always just called it the ballad. That was the kind of the adopted nickname.
And we have that one performed on Overtones.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
Beautiful piece. I love that piece.
Staring at the sink of blood and crushed veneer. I told my love to go and wreck it all. I don't have much to give, but I don't care the ropes and let them fall. What use is money when you need someone to hold? Right at the moment this order's told. And I told you to be patient. I told you to be kind. And I told you to be balanced. And I told you to be kind. And in the morning if I can't have you, I'll be as if I know. I'll be holding on to the rising storm, and you'll be holding on to you never know the endless nights, nor the rhyming of the rain. How it feels to fall behind you, watch you call his name. Leave everything. Don't you see what I can't bring? Can't keep this beating heart I made. Set my midnights out free. I will give you all of me. Just leave your love. Leave him for me. Leave your love. Leave him for me. Just as you are to me, don't need apologies. Know that you are worthy. I'll take your bad days with you. Walking through the storm, I swear to you all because unconditionally, I will love you unconditionally. There is no fear, let go and just be what I can. I will love you unconditionally. Leave your love. Leave him for me. Come on, skinny love. Leave your love. Open up your heart, skinny love. Open up your heart. Leave your love. Open up your heart, skinny love. I will love you unconditionally.
Sigh No More, a Shakespeare text.
Mumford and Sons.
That Mumford and Sons version of a Shakespeare
I did.
text.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved that one.
That's on your top 10, Nick.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, and let's see. Okay, I'll stop there and let you weigh in on yours.
Honestly, I can't even remember what I wrote. Can I see it? Because
Yeah,
I have a
yeah.
lot
Shady.
of different
You
options
can't look at that
let's
list.
do a real
of my
quick,
list.
Let's do a real quick redo, and then after the break, we're going to come back and look at some of those individually. So,
Yeah.
what was your list?
I had, and I put all of mine in alphabetical order, but I had Back at One.
Oh, I should have put that on mine. Yep.
Yeah. Ballad, and then Hard Times.
Nice.
I just wrote a landslide arrangement for Pause and Listen last year, and that's easily one of my favorites. Not with Haste, Mumford and Sons, and Rivers and Roads, Head in the Heart. That was with my high school students. Cool. Roses by Outkast. Searching for a Feeling, Third Story. Yep. Shut Up and Dance, Walk the Moon, and Sigh No More, Mumford and Sons.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, we got several commons.
Yeah, the ones I predicted of yours were Amazed,
Okay.
the ballad, Boondocks.
Yeah. Oh, I love Boondocks.
I couldn't believe he didn't say Boondocks.
It's hard to decide, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you hear what I hear?
Yep.
Everybody wants to rule the world.
Yes.
Hard times.
Yes.
Hey ya. I can't make you love me. I still haven't found what I'm looking for, and wake me up.
Oh, yeah.
I tried to choose the ones that I thought were choral based, and so that was my decision making.
Yeah. Well, we guessed each other's pretty well.
Yep. Sure did. Sure
And this
did.
is after a long period of time, right? That's passed.
Yeah, I thought, you know what? I literally can't even remember some of the songs that I wrote, so I thought, I don't know that he's going to have a list that he can go off of. Like, he's going to remember, whichever one. So, I don't know. It was a lot.
Well, let me ask you, Dr. Johnson, because you can be here with us for just a few more minutes. We're going to feature a show on you on Overtones Live soon, and we're going to have Nick come back in for that as well.
Thank you.
But as you are retiring, and I want to hear all about it and all about what has preceded this retirement, because our Overtones Live inquiring minds want to know. And I'm most thankful that you've come to the studio today to celebrate Nick. And as you leave us, but only for today, what would you say Nick's legacy is going to be on the UK AcoUstiKats and also on the UK School of Music as a student, a director, and overall just a wonderful human that he is?
It's really cool when you write music or arrange music, it lives. As long as somebody performs it, it lives again. I mean, it's temporal. It's a temporal art. It's done in 2 minutes and it's over. It's not like visual art that exists all the time on the wall. But we bring these pieces back to life. And even this year, we brought some of Nick's arrangements back to life. And it's a different set of AcoUstiKats, and some of them may not know who Nick Johnson is. And it's a different coach. And this is after several generational changes of AcoUstiKats and coach changes and everything. So through every different version of the AcoUstiKats every year, I guarantee you we have done at least 3 or 4 Nick Johnson arrangements, and they pull them out. I mean, they've got so much music to choose from. If I'm a coach of AcoUstiKats, I got this whole huge,
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. And it's the Nick Johnson arrangements that continuously rise to the top. So that's part of his legacy right there.
Yeah, I think I sent you, honestly, I made a Google Drive today because I had been organizing all my music, and I think 50 songs or so. I said, here's all the songs I've written over the years. Have at it.
And the thing
And
is,
we will too.
and we will, because he allows us to, and he's so gracious with his music. Some composers might say, yeah, you can do that at $200 performance fee if you don't mind. Nick has never done that, and he's been so free. He shared his music so freely, and I just really appreciate that so much.
Thank you.
Nick, what would you like to say to Dr. Johnson upon his retirement from the University of Kentucky that relates to the impact that he's had on your life?
I mean, I could say a lot of things. Mainly, I was just telling you earlier, it will be very odd to walk by your door and not see your name on it. I joked to somebody, I think it was Beth Wilson, I said, do you think he'd let me keep that name tag? And she said, no. And I said, darn, what's he going to do with it?
It's got to go somewhere.
But I'm just so grateful. And I know my parents are grateful, and everyone knows how much you mean to me, and including you. But we're going to miss you, but having you in Lexington is a win. But I'm just excited to see kind of what the program does from here.
Yeah.
Well, we're so thankful, Dr. Johnson, that you've come on the show to talk about the wonderful work of Nick Johnson. And we're going to have more from Nick right after this break.
The sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the people are gay. The corn tops ripe and the meadows in the bloom, while the birds make music all the day. The young folks roll on the little cabin floor, all merry, all happy and bright. By hard times come a-knocking at the door, then my old Kentucky home, good night. Oh, weep no more, my lady, oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home. Far away, far away, far away.
Nick, now that your professor is gone, let's talk shop and hear some great arrangements of some of your and Dr. Johnson's favorite songs. What are we going to hear first?
What would you like to hear first?
Well, let's just kind of go with these. Let's do a countdown to number 1.
Okay.
So we have "Sigh No More," which Dr. Johnson just told us was a Shakespeare text, right?
Yes.
But you said it was done by Mumford and Sons.
That is the that is where I learned "Sigh No More" for the first time. I actually didn't realize it was a Shakespeare text. Mumford and Sons is my favorite band. They mean so much to me.
Me too.
Over the years, it's grown and grown and grown, my love for them. And so back then, "Sigh No More" was their first song on their first album. And I just thought, I have to do this. I want to. And so I just decided, this is going to be one that I'll write for myself because I didn't often write songs for myself to sing with the AcoUstiKats. I typically would write myself parts that were kind of intricate in what I kind of imagined the song to need, but didn't necessarily know how to write it with the style that I wanted it sung in. And so sometimes I would give myself some of those parts, but "Sigh No More" was one of my favorites. We performed it for several years, and I know they performed it for several years after I left.
Outstanding. Thank you. So I will say, when I was in college, there was a "Sigh No More" like classical piece. So that's how I kind of associated with when Dr. Johnson mentioned the Shakespeare part. But let's talk about "Shut Up and Dance" by Walk the Moon.
Yeah. So I wrote that for a good friend of mine who has an a cappella group in Tennessee, in Memphis. He asked if I would write an arrangement of "Shut Up and Dance" for them because they were auditioning for America's Got Talent and they needed like a clip of them singing something. And that song was really big that year. I honestly can't even remember what year that was, but that one was one of the first pieces that I wrote where I started experimenting with learning tracks. And so I recorded every part myself and edited it all together and, made the edits in Melodyne and then transported or exported them so each singer could have their own listening track of voices rather than just a MIDI file. But that one was a fan favorite. I let Blue Note sing that one. I let my high school students sing that one. They loved that one. And I was really proud of that one. And I think that the reason it was so successful was because people were able to hear a demo of it first and know, oh, that's what this syllable is supposed to sound like. Or because I experimented with a lot of strange syllables in my writing, a lot of strange rhythms in my writing. But I want certain voice parts to feel like they're dancing. And so they have something super similar to one another, but there's a rise and a fall. And I love dissonance that just makes your hair stand on end,
Right.
And so that one was what "Shut Up and Dance" was to me, was an opportunity to put a fresh twist on a piece that I thought was fun, and other people, I'm glad, did too.
dare look back, just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back. She said, shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said, ooh, shut up and dance with me. We were victims of the night. The chemical, physical kryptonite held us to the base and faded. Oh, we were bound to get together, bound to get together. She took my arm, I don't know how it happened. We took the floor and she said, don't you dare look back, just keep your eyes on me. I said, you're holding back. She said, shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said, ooh, shut up and dance with me. A backless dress and some beat up slaps. My discotheque, Juliet, teenage dream. I felt it in my chest as he looked at me. I knew we were bound to get together, bound to get together. He took my arm, I don't know how it happened. We took the floor and I said, don't you dare look back, just keep your eyes on me. I said, you're holding back. She said, shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said, ooh, shut up and dance with me.
Excellent. How about Searching for a Feeling by Third Story?
So my friend John Lantertone and I, he was in AcoUstiKats, a year younger than me, but he and I, we just loved this band. Third Story, they came out with this 3-song album, and that was all we had of them, and they were absolutely amazing. Searching for a Feeling was one on there that just meant a lot to me and John both. And John was an amazing vocalist, and I never felt like there had been a song he got to really show off on during his time at Cats. He was in it for 4 years, and so, I mean, he had the voice that would do it, but none of them had been written for him. And so I was able to take this piece and make sure it fit him. And he absolutely nailed it, and I love listening to that. There's a recording of it on the AcoUstiKats Facebook, but I don't have any, studio recording of it, and so there's something special about that to me, though, that there's a recording that we sorry Singletary staff, we snuck into the recital hall one afternoon because it was open, and we just filmed really quickly, just 1 or 2 takes, and then went on our way and posted it, and it was huge. People loved it, and that's one of my favorite things, is that one time John's sister reached out to me and said, hey, do you have any videos of John singing? I'm trying to just put together a folder of those. And I said, absolutely, I do. And I just sent her a bunch of different videos of John, but that one was the one that was the full length. I don't know, just a really good sound quality video.
Excellent. Now, this next one is kind of special to me because the UK AcoUstiKats did perform this also on Overtones, and this was Outcast Roses. And let's also connect that to what your prediction was with Hey Ya for Dr. Johnson's List, because that was also an Outcast piece. And if I remember correctly, that was one of your performance pieces on the Sing-Off in 2013.
Yes, that one was our second week, and so Dr. J loved that one, but I didn't know if it would be one of his favorites. One of the reasons I put it on there is because I knew it was memorable enough to be one of his favorites. But it also was a shortened version of that song, and I never went back and expanded that to a full length because it said what it needed to say. Everybody knows the song Hey Ya. We put all the favorite parts in there, But then Roses was an opportunity for me to write a full-length version of this. So and that was kind of when I was in my experimental phase of how interesting can I make something sound using voice sounds that I haven't before. So like the section with the fell into the ditch and crashed, that was a very cool moment for me that I felt really proud of. And then you have like horn sounds in there and beep sounds. I had a really fun time writing that one. And the funny thing was that Dr. J didn't love that one at first because I just feel like he was nervous when I told him we were doing that one and working on it. Until he heard it, he was like, okay, I'm good with this. But I think...
Was it the poo-poo?
Yep. It was that. The roses really smell like... Yeah. He was... I think a nervous wreck about that until he heard it and realized that the changes had been made that were necessary to make it, family friendly.
Well, and just to be quite honest, it's so fast paced and all of the things that are going along, I didn't even hear that part.
Right.
It just seamlessly, the way that you arranged it, seamlessly and very entertaining.
Yeah.
Even with, the choreography that you all had around that as well. But what great songs. And who was hotter than Outkast back then?
Right.
And I don't know if you saw, they just recently went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I did not.
Yeah, so that was a really good, and they had a performance and everything, so you'll have to look that up.
Caroline, all the guys will say she's mighty fine, but mighty fine only got you somewhere half the time, and the other half either got you cussed out, coming up short. Yeah, I dig this now, even though you need the golden calculator to divide the time it took to look inside to realize that real guys go for real. Down to more skirts. I know you like to think that you don't stay, but being a little bit closer, see, roses really smell like ooh, yeah, roses really smell like ooh. Caroline, she's the reason forward. I hope she's speeding on her way to the club, trying to hurry get to a model, a psycho, somebody like that. Try to make him in the mirror and crash into a ditch. You like just playing your don't stink. But lean a little bit closer, see, roses really smell like ooh, yeah, roses really smell like ooh.
Oh, so you're one of them freaks, get geeked at the sight of an ATM receipt, but game been peep, dropping names, she's weak, chipping off, she is lost, must take me for a geek.
Better come back down from Mars, girl, quit chasing cars. What happens when your dough gets low, cause you ain't that fine, no way, no way, no way. Better come back down from Mars, girl, quit chasing cars. What happens when your dough gets low, cause you ain't that fine, no way, no way, no way. Whoa. Hey.
I keep forgetting to do that.
What?
And Jack was like, why are you clapping?
I was like,
That's the best mistake.
So next on your list, number 6 was Rivers and Roads by Head and the Heart.
Yeah, so that one means a lot to me. My first year teaching at Tate's Creek, I had an a cappella group. Their name was Take Two. And my goal was we would record an album at the end of the year. They were so good and had so much potential, and they were all hard workers. I care very much about each of them still to this day because they were my first, you know. Mm-hmm. But I had a good conversation with each of them. I said, if we are going to record an album, there has to be a purpose behind the songs we choose. So there has got to be a theme. There has got to be, you know, an overarching story. And so they selected 3 songs: Work Song by Hosier, I See Fire by Ed Sheeran, and Rivers and Roads by Head and the Heart. I wrote my arrangement of Head and the Heart and took it into rehearsal. And I had a rehearsal structure with them that I had actually gotten from the friend of mine I mentioned who teaches in Memphis. I would give them their song on the Monday. Our first rehearsal we had Mondays and Thursday rehearsals. I gave them their song on Monday with the learning tracks. They were to sit there and they sing out loud with headphones in the room all at once. It's the most aleatoric sounding madness, but you give them X amount of time to read through this, and then you sing through it as a group with the track playing on the speakers in the room, and then you take away the track completely, and they sing it by themselves. And then, flaws and all, their goal for the Thursday was that they had to be prepared note perfect, but then that's when we begin to get the music making going. Mm-hmm. The fascinating part about that process, I know I've kind of derailed a little bit, but
that was one of my questions coming up, so let's go with it.
Yeah. Well, the fascinating part about that process for me was I watched them become incredible sight readers. And so you eventually didn't even need the learning tracks for them. They could just sit and they could read anything that you'd put in front of them. And my sight reading scores at their all-state auditions were going up with each of those students. And there were a lot of people that doubted that process because they felt like it was cheating.
Non-conventional, right?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, those students also were getting exposed to a ton of music because they could learn it faster, and then it built their skill set so that they could continue to do that without that aid and that crutch. And I don't even consider it a crutch. That was really the wrong word for it. But all that being said, short story long, was that Rivers and Roads, the first version I gave them, we hated, including myself. And I could tell that they weren't in it and that it just was missing something. And so that night, I remember I went home and I thought about it a lot, and I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with it. And then, 3 a.m. rolls around, and I wake up in the middle of the night, and I just have this melody in my head that has nothing to do with Rivers and Roads, but it just keeps playing. It's this ostinato, love, 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 oh, love, 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 oh, love. And then it just goes and goes and goes. It keeps going almost the entire song. And I just got up out of bed, and I said, I am going to go right now. I'm just going to start writing. And then I got to school. I remember I was leaving my house and walking to the parking garage, and I texted our group me, and I said, all right, everybody, so I wrote a brand new version of Rivers and Roads. Please delete the other one out of your folder. I'm sending it to you all now. If you all have a chance to listen to it before rehearsal today, please do. But I'm really excited for this one, and they absolutely loved it, and it was one of the most fun. It was very different than the original. And so the original is this kind of slow, indie, very nostalgic feeling. And this one was this upbeat. The version I wrote was this upbeat, joyful, almost a flip from what the original feels like.
Sure.
And we loved singing that one. I just adored that piece. And it's on Spotify now. And there's a studio recording because it closed our first album.
Excellent.
Love, 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 oh, love, 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 oh, love, 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 oh, love, oh, love, 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 oh, love, 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 oh, love.
If now we'll all be gone, all our friends will move away, and their We're going to better places, but our friends will be gone away.
Nothing is as it has been, and I miss your face like hell. But I guess it's just as well. But I miss your face like hell.
Talking about the way things change. And my family lives in a different state. But if you don't know what to make of this, then we will not relate. But if you don't know what to make of this, then we will not relate.
So the next one on the list is number 5 with Not With Haste, another Mumford & Sons piece.
So Not With Haste was a piece I wrote as a gift to my best friend, and it was on his wedding day, not this past November, but the November before. I kept it a surprise from him, and I got a little choir together to learn it, and I played the piano, and it was this really beautiful version of a favorite song of his, and kind of just, I just wanted to provide him with something meaningful to him and meaningful to me, and so I was able to put that little choir together, and after their ceremony, before the reception, they sent all the guests away, except for, the wedding party, and that's who stays for those pictures, unbeknownst to them that I had my choir people out there in the lobby of the church waiting by the piano. So as they came out, we were standing there and we performed it for them. And so that's why that's on my list, also because it's Mumford.
Yes.
But I feel very proud of that one because that was after my phase of making myself kind of go out of the comfort zone and write with piano. I've played piano my whole life, but I've never really written piano music. And so I wanted to put that to music in a special way.
Climbing the list right now at number 4, I'm like Casey Kasem here, top 100, which we could easily do with your arrangements. You have Landslide on here, Fleetwood Mac style.
And so And again, so this is my like overarching list of top 10. It's not necessarily my like countdown to my favorites.
Right.
But Landslide would definitely be up there in the 4 or 5 range if these were in order by favorite. But there was a piece that I wrote for the AcoUstiKats years ago, and it was kind of, I chose the style. It was I Can't Make You Love Me. And I kind of wanted to write it in the style of Kirby Shaw's And So It Goes, which cats loved singing. It was just straight 4-part, kind of choral sounding. And so that's what I wanted to do with I Can't Make You Love Me. And for years, people talked about how that one was so beautiful, and they loved that piece. And so I really started writing more for Pause and Listen, the treble choirs a cappella group at UK. I started writing more for them upon graduation than I did while I was in school because I was primarily writing for AcoUstiKats. But after I stopped coaching AcoUstiKats, I really started writing for Pause and Listen. And so I've written probably 20 arrangements for them total. But I wanted to write something for them that was similar to something that I wrote for cats. So I took Fleetwood Mac's Landslide and made it very choral, kind of just changed that feel, while also maintaining the original feel of the song in the chorus. But it turned out beautifully. And I remember I went to Pause and Listen rehearsal before they kind of understood my vision for it. And they were kind of struggling to, I could tell they didn't even really like it. And I was like, I promise you're going to like this when you realize the reason it is the way it is. And when you kind of understand how it should be sung. Like, it's much more sensitive than you're singing it now. And once they kind of understood that and heard that from me, they fell in love with it because I made a couple edits, and there were some things that I had put in there that I thought, that doesn't really work. But we kind of worked together with what is it that you all want out of this that's wrong with it right now, from your perspective. But I'm also a big fan of when I write something for somebody else, it's theirs, Yes. Yeah, my name's on it, but it's a gift. I have been a choir director where sometimes there is a song that is perfect except for one little thing that my students might not be ready for or just might not work for my ensemble. And so I can relate to needing to make changes to something that you don't necessarily feel like you can.
Yes.
I am a big advocate of, if I write you something, make the changes that you need to fit the ensemble you have. Because even if it means you reach back out to me and say, hey, this isn't working, what can we do? You might not be the person that wants to create the change, but I'm more than happy to do that because I have been in those shoes, and also music is for everyone. It bugs me when people say, no, that can't be changed.
Yeah.
And for some stuff, I do feel like that is appropriate, but it's pop music.
It is.
Ain't that deep.
Right.
And it's fun, so if you can sing it better with a change, sing it that way. And so Landslide, for me, that was a moment where I got to tell Pause and Listen, look, this is a time where you get to decide, what would make this work, and kind of have that experience with them too.
I took my love and I took it down. I climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills till the last I brought me down. Oh,
3 more on the list. And as Nick mentioned, these aren't necessarily in order, but just a compilation of some of his favorites. And we have Hard Times, which also Dr. Johnson mentioned. I will say that that's one that just took my breath away when I saw the film at the convention. So what do you have to add on to what he said about Hard Times?
That was one of, almost an out-of-body experience for me. Dr. J approached me very early asking about this because he wanted to sing it with that, honor choir, and told me that there were going to be students from men's chorus too that were singing, and he wanted it to sound contemporary but still pay homage to the traditional version. And so he said, I want you to add your Nick Johnson flair. And what's weird is that I don't necessarily even always know what my flair is, but every song I write has it. Yes. And there's always some sort of harmony or some sort of way in which the voices speak to one another that I do have a good sense of how to make a song beautiful, but what I had to hone in over the years was how to make it accessible and beautiful. So simple does not always mean easy, and that was hard for me to understand. So because a lot of the stuff I wrote for AcoUstiKats was so many parts, I would write them for each person, but that's not realistic if I wanted somebody else to be able to sing that.
There
And so Hard Times was all about honing in and staying true to the music. But I remember at National Convention, I don't know if you've ever been to a national ACDA conference, but it is not necessarily typical that people give a standing ovation until the end. But that was middle of the set, and it got a multiple-minute standing ovation from the audience, a full performance hall. And I have never felt that way in my life. I can't even quite describe what that felt like. But what meant the most to me was the students that came to me after, telling me, hey, this changed me. This piece, I'm so happy to have been a part of the group that sang it first. And that always meant so much. And so then that became my claim to fame. I remember when I got the Walton Music booklet of like top songs of the year, I had beat out Brahms. I was
How about
the
that?
fourth best selling of Walton's new pieces, or not necessarily new pieces, but I remember thinking, that's odd. Like that was a weird moment. And I know, Brahms is obviously a very influential composer. Yeah. And so that was a weird moment for me to process. But very cool.
Well, when you think about it, too, just the works of Stephen Foster and just really me digging into that background is realizing that, from that time frame, he was a pop star.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was like our Elton John and our Billy Joel. And it's just so hard to imagine, times like that where everybody's walking around in these, big full dresses, and, formally dressed, and that he was so admired. And I mean, if they would have had like a top 10, all of his compositions probably would have been on it as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll also say
beautiful.
that there were some things around Stephen Foster that I know were controversial too.
Exactly.
And so I was trying to be mindful of that and not necessarily celebrating parts of him that were not okay at this day and age, but the beauty of the song itself could be shaped in a different way. And so my meaning behind it, that the meaning that I had when I kind of poured into the song was with that in mind, of how can I reshape this for a future generation.
And, I thought of that song Hard Times a lot around, COVID pandemic shutdown. And I just thought, I would love to hear some recordings of that song. It's very universal. But, when you talk about Foster's compositions, you've got this, dichotomy of controversial lyrics, but some of the most beautiful melodies ever written.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, how do we reconcile with that? But I just love that you did this piece. This one is one that was also performed on Overtones. And I just remember thinking when I heard it, I'm like, those are three different songs, and they're just sewn together so wonderfully and masterfully. So this was your ballad, which consisted of three songs, which were?
Skinny Love, Leave Your Lover, and Unconditionally. It was a crowd favorite.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. And it was long. It was a long piece, probably 5 minutes, and which is rare for me. I have trouble paying attention to things as it is for longer than other people. But that one was a piece that I honestly cannot even remember my process for writing it. Other than that, I knew that if I'm going to write a mashup, as early on in my career of writing, I didn't necessarily think this way. I just thought, well, that song works with that song, but they didn't necessarily have much in common. Like one of the songs that we did for the sing-off audition was Call Me Maybe, Payphone.
Yes.
Which they do have a similarity. Like, it's
the theme.
The theme. Yeah. But those songs aren't meaningful. Those songs are fun. So these songs are powerful songs. Yes. And so I thought, how can I tell a story through three different perspectives that then kind of blend into one idea? And so it was introduced. The first song is Skinny Love, and then a new soloist comes in for that second piece of the Leave Your Lover. And then the third soloist comes in for the Unconditionally. But the lyrics of Unconditionally are kind of mirrored in those other two songs. And so all three soloists come together for the chorus of Unconditionally and then break out into their own choruses of each over top of one another, kind of overlaid. That one was... I loved that piece. I honestly haven't listened to it in years, but there's also a recording of that on the AcoUstiKats Facebook that from back in the day.
Excellent. And then the last one, but certainly not the top or the bottom, but Back at One, Brian McKnight. I would imagine that this one was a real crowd pleaser as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just a beautiful song.
Yeah. And that one was hard to perform live. Like, we really struggled with that one at first because it wants to rush.
Yes.
So you have to really be cognizant of, like, no, you have got to feel this beat internally, because it does have a lot of moving parts and of quick rhythms, but spaced out between voice parts. So there's a lot of staggering so that it's easier. Like, one part's just doing doo-doo, doo-doo, but then other people are coming in on the doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo. So they're doing that offbeat. And so, but I love it. It was on our first full-length album that AcoUstiKats released, the first studio album. There's a live album that was released after my freshman year, maybe sophomore year, AcoUstiKats live in concert, and it's on Spotify as well. But I have one piece on that Isn't She Lovely, that first song. But then in that second album, I wrote the entire album, and Back at One is on there. That is good. It is a good arrangement, and I have always loved it. And the Cats, that's one of the ones they just recently resurfaced, and I didn't know until they sent me a video of them performing it, and I said, well, wow, I forgot how good that song was. And sometimes that happens to me. I'll forget that I even wrote something.
Right.
And then I'll hear it, and I'm like...
You'll hear it on Overtones.
Or like Pause and Listen was singing a song a couple weeks ago, and I was standing outside of their rehearsal because I was waiting to go in, and I thought, did I write that song that they're singing? I have no idea. Turns out I did, but it was years ago. And so I had no idea. It just... it escapes your memory sometimes. And so Back at One is also one of those songs that every now and then I kind of forget about. But, and I'm glad it exists. I'm glad to forget about them sometimes, because then I'm reminded of them and get to go down memory lane.
Should be together, and unbelievable how I used to say that I found never. The basis need to know if you don't know just how I feel. Let me show you now that I'm for real. That if all things in time will reveal. One, it's like a dream come true. Two, just wanna be with you. Three, girl, it's plain to see that you're the only one for me. And four, repeat steps 1 through 3. 5, make you fall in love with me. If ever I believe my work is done, then I'll start back at one.
It's so incredible the way things work themselves out, and all emotional once you know what it's all about. Say farewell to the dark of night, I see the coming of the sun. I feel like a little child whose life has just begun. Start back at one.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for that overview of top 10 favorites.
You're welcome.
Nick, you told me such an interesting story about how you initially trained, and I've got trained in quotation marks, because it's really identified as probably non-conventional to the way that you train a chorus or a chorale. How you train these young voices, how to work in concert with each other in an a cappella group. And then let me kind of follow that up by saying that people typically probably think about a cappella groups as like barbershop quartets. And I think that's the most common association that, the average person would think of. But you utilize many voices in many parts in your composition. So let's talk about that and let's also talk about your background, because you don't have really a formal background in this arrangement thing, do you?
I do not. So I started, like I told Dr. J, my first arrangements were drumline cadences. And so I played snare drum. I was center snare of my high school drumline. And my junior year, I started experimenting with, could I write something for this? I'm going to try. And so I did. And then we had several of them that we used regularly. Now, then I said to my choir director, Ray Hurley, I said, hey, I really want to write a piece for chamber choir, which was our a cappella group that met after school on Fridays. And she said, okay, yeah, go for it. And so I did. It was Just the Way You Are by Bruno Mars. It was not really an arrangement. It was a transcription. But that's how you learn,
Yes.
Like early on, that's the best way to learn, is to transcribe. And also back then, I didn't think about it as a transcription. I thought, I arranged this.
Right.
Which, I did in a way, but it's still, there was nothing fresh about it. It was all just a recreation of exactly what I heard. And then going into college, when I got into AcoUstiKats that freshman year, going into my spring semesters when I wrote Isn't She Lovely? And I will say, even though I had played piano my whole life, I started taking in second grade and all the way through high school. I was extremely good at oral theory when I had to start taking theory in college, and horrible at written theory.
And most of the time, just to let our listeners know, that's reversed.
Yeah, see that, and I feel like it's always that the singers are typically more well-versed in oral theory, while the instrumentalists are more well-versed in written theory, because they learn so differently in their process or in their growth as musicians. And so when I was in written theory, I really did struggle, and I didn't know why it was so hard for me. My first semester in written theory, I got a D and A in oral theory. And so I remember thinking, why am I having so much trouble with this when I don't have much trouble writing something? But the difference was that I was writing something that I knew sounded good, but didn't necessarily follow the formal structure of what I was learning in written theory. Once I accepted that, it made written theory so much easier to understand, because I knew that it was not going to be similar to the way that I wrote, which actually, once I started then really starting to understand written theory more, I started to fall in love with it. I mean, I thought, this is like, it's scratching an itch in my brain that I didn't know was itching. And I was able to then start applying some of those concepts to my arrangements, but still with the understanding that I can break the rules, those rules, I'm not going to get arrested, those rules are meaningful within a structure, but they don't always have to be followed, especially in contemporary a cappella music. And so I wrote a ton of arrangements for AcoUstiKats over and over and over. I would spend breaks, like winter break, spend the whole time just writing music for the group. Like, I think one time I wrote 10 songs over winter break. It was like an album that we were going to record. And it was one of my favorite things that I've ever done, because I started learning about, hey, how can I fit all 10 of these songs together with one common theme, like musical theme. And so I had like this cascading bell tone sound that would come out in every single song. And then I also took each of the AcoUstiKats at that time. I took each of their phone numbers and made their phone numbers into a scale degree. And so then I wrote a melody that matched the scale degree of their phone numbers that was specific to each of them, so that each of them had a unique part to sing. And so that was a fun experiment for me. And then I got to the point where I met JD Frizzell. My senior year of college, JD was doing his doctorate at UK, and he is the friend of mine that teaches in Memphis. He has an incredible a cappella group named One Voice, and he used the learning track method. And so I decided, if I really wanted to try to get others to understand what my arrangements sound like before they read through them as a group, they need to know that they can be accessible. And so I started doing the learning track thing. I knew nothing about how to record. I knew nothing about how to, fix sound levels, and I still kind of don't. And I recorded my students singing their first album and had no business doing so, but I figured it out as I went, and it was fine. But it's amazing to see my first learning tracks that I wrote and the sound quality versus probably my last ones that I wrote. And so that was the time when JD taught me how he uses those tracks by panning this, each student, if it was, the altos, their part would be panned into their left earphone, while everyone else's would be panned into the right. So when they're listening to them, they can practice by taking out their own earphone and sing with the other parts and without help, or they could take out the other parts and say, okay, wait a minute, what was that part that I just did? Okay, let me take that back out, put that back in. And so that was super helpful for them, and the way that they practiced and the speed at which they were able to learn songs. And so that's kind of the structure I went with. And then I introduced that to AcoUstiKats. They loved it. That was back in 2015 fall. That was the first time I started using learning tracks with AcoUstiKats. And it was also a brand new group. My group when I was a senior in college had pretty much been the same group with, the exception of a couple people joining as they got into college. I had pretty much been with those singers forever, and then all of us graduated at the same time. But then this new group that came in, it was all brand new, so the learning track thing was very easy to introduce because none of them had done that. And the few that were still in there from the previous year were pumped about it because they knew that JD had done that, and they knew that I was learning how to do that. And they ate that up. And so we learned so many songs that first semester. But they also began to get used to, without having to hear the song, they knew what that song was supposed to sound like based off of my arranging style. So they learned how to sing what I wrote and how to predict what something was going to sound like, as did my high schoolers.
So, Nick, again, it has been so good to have you on Overtones. I would like to ask you just one silly question, and then I'd like to ask you something more serious.
I'm ready.
Do you ever look back at the sing-off YouTube videos or watch videos of your past work?
I don't for fun, but I do if people ask about them. But I hate the sections of those videos that aren't the singing. It's all fake. It's all
the
fake.
Story.
Yes,
right.
Everything is fake that you're seeing. We don't choose the songs. They choose them for you, but they tell you, well, tell us about the song you chose.
Yes.
I'm like, we did not choose this.
I think from what I understand, that's pretty much about how all of the musical reality shows go.
Absolutely.
I've often thought that it should be called The Story. American Story instead of American Idol.
Yeah.
The Voice should be The Story.
And there's a benefit to that in some ways, in that I would have decision fatigue if I was having to be the person to always choose.
Absolutely.
And there's certain songs they don't have rights to.
Right.
But it is also stressful when you have no vision for the song and they tell you, this is the song that you're doing.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there going, what do I do with this?
And they always make it look like, it's that person's song selection too. And it's, you can always tell when it's not, because they're always like, why did you select that song? But it's just, there's always a story to it. And
well, I'll tell you that the first song we sang on the sing-off was Blurred Lines, and it was very controversially received.
Yes.
The Colonel at UK wrote an article about how we were, promoting negative culture and that we were emphasizing or lifting up singers who were, that shouldn't be idolized. We had no say in that song we sang, but everyone thought we did, but we also weren't really in the position to tell people that because we were under contract. Right. So we kind of got a lot of heat from our own school while we were, while our competition was airing.
However, it was the best version of Blurred Lines that you could possibly do.
It was fun. It was fun.
Really fun.
I was proud of it.
Everybody get up. If you can't hear what I'm trying to say, if you can't about your makeup. That's why I'm gonna take a good girl.
I know you want it. I know you want it. I know you want it.
But you're a good girl. Can't let her get past me. You're far from plastic. Talk about getting blasted.
What do they make dreams for when you got them jeans on? What do they make scenes for?
You're the hottest chick in this place. I feel so lucky. You wanna hug me? What rhymes with hug me?
So, what do you want your legacy to be in regards to this era in the time of UK School of Music and where your work was, internationally recognized on television?
I would love for my legacy to be that people know that I cared so deeply about this program. Like, I want people to use my music. I want my music to be meaningful, and I want others to feel like they don't necessarily have to tell me that, and I just want people to enjoy it for them, and I also would love to still continue to be involved in whatever capacity they choose to have me with UK choirs, because a new person coming in, they have a different vision, and that's totally okay. It's necessary for programs that are going through large changes. But I do think about how different my experience working with them going forward will be, and I hope they know that I am always willing to be a part of this, because it built me from the ground up. Everything that I am can be attributed to my experience under Dr. J's mentorship, and it means so much to me. It makes me a little emotional to think about, but I think so highly of the program, and I've gone through ups and downs with them as any long-standing relationship would, but I have a storied relationship with the College of Fine Arts, especially being an employee there now.
Yes.
I want people to know that I care deeply about it, and that my music, I hope, reflects that, and that I'm always willing to help an ensemble or a director who may be, hurting for funds, and or has a group that really wants to sing something, but they don't necessarily have the skill set yet, right, or the voices to pull it off. And I want people to know that that's kind of a passion of mine, is making it accessible for everyone. And so right now I'm actually revoicing Hard Times for a middle school program that is submitting for National ACDA. And they asked if I would be willing to revoice for treble voices. And I said, interestingly, that's the only voicing I don't have of it so far. And so I have an SSAA, or I'm sorry, I have an SATB and a TTBB, but now I'm revoicing because it's not accessible to those students right now, but I want it to be, because there are some middle school ensembles out there that can sing your face off. They could make some high school and collegiate groups give you a run for your money. And I've written for them before. Like, I wrote a version of I Want You Back by the Jackson 5 that won the National Macy's Acapella Challenge back in 2015, but I wrote 4 arrangements of that for different groups. One for the high school group that won, and then 3 different middle school versions. And one of those middle school versions I wrote was for or the winning arrangement I wrote was for the high schoolers. That was J.D. Frizzell's group One Voice, and his wife, Emily Frizzell, who now is at University of Memphis as the Director of Music Education. She had a middle school group that she wanted to compete as well, and I wrote one for them, and they are awesome. And then there were 2 other middle schools that reached out to me and asked, and I made variations of those pieces, and one of them hit the jackpot, but that's awesome. It's on YouTube now, and it is an incredible recording of I Want You Back.
Well, outstanding. And Nick, I'm so thankful that you and Dr. Johnson were on the show today and that we could really put the spotlight on this amazing work that both of you all have done for over like 33 years now. So as a fellow alumni of the UK School of Music, I'm so glad that we all had this time together, even though it was at different times at the school, but that also binds us and bonds us together for a really long time. And I'm very thankful for your friendship, and I'm thankful for you being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great time.
But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I have kissed honey lips, felt the healing in her fingertips, and burned like fire, this burning desire. I have spoke with the tongue of angels. I have held the hand of the devil. It's warm in the night. I was cold as a stone, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I believe in the kingdom come, when all the colors will bleed into one, bleed into one. And yes, I'm still running. You broke the bonds and you loosed the chains. Carry the cross of my shame. You know I believe it, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still